Welcome back to the Weekly Huddle YouTube channel. I'm your host, Owen, and today we're going to be talking more XFL stuff following the first weekend of the game, and this is going to be coming out the day before the second week. I really wasn't knowledgeable enough to really make power rankings heading into the season. I wasn't sure how these teams would play out. There were so many moving variables and different people who are first-time coaches and guys who were players who didn't really get a lot of shine in college or the NFL. So I wanted to wait and see how these guys perform before I put together a power rankings. And now I feel more comfortable being able to go out there and say who I think is better than who after watching all 4 games this weekend. If you haven't checked out some of the other stuff I've done with the XFL, go ahead and take a look at that. I have a podcast I just posted yesterday, as well as a preview podcast a couple weeks back. But other than that, let's just get right into my rankings. We're going to start off with our number 8 team, the Orlando Guardians, who lost 33-12 against the Roughnecks. They were the betting favorite to be the worst team in the league coming into the season, and they really showed why that was this past Saturday night. The Roughnecks pretty much had the game sealed at halftime, and the only way the Guardians were able to get traction in the second half was based on the Roughnecks just kind of running plays, I'm assuming, that they weren't able to get to a lot of practice or wanted to see out in the game. So I kind of want to see what they're going to do next week against the Brahmas, who I'm not super high on either. But, I mean, congrats to Paxton Lynch, who is the first ever quarterback to be benched in the NFL, CFL, USFL, and XFL in one career. Congrats to that man, and hopefully they can find a suitable replacement for the quarterback, which was an issue we saw with some USFL teams this last year, like the Pittsburgh Maulers, and hopefully they don't fall into that kind of rut like the Pittsburgh team did. Next, at number 7 is going to be the San Antonio Brahmas, the team that will be playing the Guardians next week, so it'll be an absolute slobber knocker, I'm sure. The Brahmas, I knew going into it that their offense was going to be kind of stagnant. Jack Cohen didn't really excite me at quarterback, but I know they have a solid 1-2 punch at running back with Jaquez Patrick and Kalen Ballage, who actually did show out and was one of the better rushing attacks last week. I don't think this style of football is indicative of winning, and they're built to win with a lead, and they had a lead and blew it to the Battlehawks. You're going to play a game where Cohen gets around 200 yards passing by just dumping into the flats and not pushing down the field, and then dominating with the run game and time of possession. That's indicative of winning with strong defense, run game, leads, kind of thing. You don't want to fall behind. Brahmas had the lead with 3 minutes left, and their defense couldn't hold up. They couldn't get a first down, and it was just not – they weren't able to secure the win, which is the style of football that they are seemingly built to play. I'm kind of worried. Hines Ward, he didn't jump out to me as the best of the head coaching candidates, especially because he's a first-year head coach, overall head coach, I'm pretty sure, at this level anyway. So I'm not excited. I'm not really excited to watch this team. I'm gonna still watch them. They're gonna play a boring brand of football, and that's all right. And at number 6, we have one of my more controversial picks. I believe it's gonna be the Arlington Renegades, who beat the Vegas Vipers 22-20. Watching that game, it didn't really seem as though the Renegades were the better team. The Vipers were able to throw all over them in the first half and really have a solid showing offensively. And I just really think that the team needs to find an identity better. They relied on the Devontae Bosby pick 6 and relied on the Vipers to shoot themselves in the foot to come out with this win, which is why I don't have them higher than the Vipers. The Vipers won or lost that game on their own merit, because if they would have kept playing the same kind of ball they were playing in the first half, the Renegades did not stand a chance. The quarterback, Drew Plitt, he didn't really wow me. The run game wasn't ecstatically, it wasn't something that popped on the screen. And their defense, while being the difference maker in this game, I don't know if that's going to be able to hold up later in the season once offenses kind of catch up to what they're doing. I think early on in these leagues especially, the defenses are always going to be ahead of the offenses, which if you're winning games based on purely offense right away in week 1, that's indicative of a strong team and someone's going to win further down in the season. Whereas teams that are winning based off of defense and based off of the other offense making mistakes, that's not really going to show that they're going to be a team that can win when offenses start getting more used to each other, building chemistry, and getting it worked out. So the Renegades, one, playing a type of football, and one in a style that I don't think is going to be consistent going forward. So that's why I have them here at 6 below the Vipers, who technically should be lower if you're looking at them in the standings, but I have them ranked at 5 ahead of them. I think Perez, he definitely showed he's not a traditional quarterback. He's self-taught, can get mixed up with some of the reads and things like that. Basically threw this game away for them. And their running attack was atrocious. I think it was like 15 carries for 25 yards. That being said, the passing attack prior to the second half collapse was good. He did 3 passing touchdowns. The defense showed out and really stifled that Renegades offense when they weren't getting the ball at like the 15 3 times. They let up 15 points up 3 turnovers. And that is something that you want to, if you're going to get that at all during a season, you want it to be in week 1. Now they're going to be able to clean that up, go back, fix it, and then hopefully continue to grow as an offense. And they're at a good starting point as it is now. And their defense played well too, so they're kind of well-rounded. I just think there might be a ceiling with Perez as their quarterback, and especially if that run game does not improve, because in the past when he's played good in these spring leagues, like with Birmingham Iron or last year with the Generals, they had a good rushing attack to complement him so he could work off him with the play action. And he worked well today, but I think once they were able to stifle the running attack pretty early on and force him to play, that's when he started making mistakes. He had to do traditional reads, run the RPO system where he was kind of over his head a little bit. So if they need to establish that identity further, if they're going to want to win the whole thing, which is why I have them at 5 as opposed to higher up, despite the stronger showing in a loss. And I personally think they'd lose to the St. Louis Battlehawks. The Battlehawks were not a good football team for 3.5 quarters on Sunday. They were being outplayed, quote-unquote, by the Brahmas. It was just kind of a game of who wants to lose harder. Both offensive lines looked atrocious. I think that's where the one place the Vipers had the edge over the Battlehawks, which kind of made it a toss-up for me. I think the Vipers would definitely control the line of scrimmage when these two play. But, however, I think the Battlehawks have the higher ceiling quarterback. They have the much better weapons. I think the Vipers having Martavis Bryant isn't, like, outstanding. He didn't really do much. But the Battlehawks with Austin Proehl, who seems to be a stud in these spring leagues, and then Hakeem Butler turning it on in that pivotal fourth quarter, I think they have better weapons. I think their defense made bigger splash plays than the Vipers did. They really helped pull their team into the win in those clutch moments. And while I said the Vipers' defense wasn't a problem, I didn't really get that same vibe. And yeah, I think the Battlehawks just have this. Now they're tried and tested. Now they've got that fourth quarter comeback in them. They got grit, and I think they'll be able to come in. And if these two teams played, the Battlehawks will definitely, I believe, pull away with the win. Especially just because I think they're more successful offensively early on than the Vipers are, which is again also indicative of later down the season success. Another controversial pick here, but at number 3, I have the DC Defenders, who beat the Seattle Sea Dragons. I am very impressed with the Defenders' defense. I think they're going to be one of the better ones in the league, if not the best defense in the league. Greg Williams, even though he's persona non grata with the NFL, still knows how to coach a defense, especially again these like semi-pro leagues against guys who are either over the hill when it comes to their coaching days or are getting fresh in the semi-pro to pro range of coaching as head coaches and play callers. So I think Greg Williams has the advantage in other guys as coordinators. And that really showed up. Once the defense was able to settle down and get a read on what the offense did after the first drive, that was really the only time they were ever dominated. They put a lot of pressure on Danucci. They got a pick 6. They got a couple interceptions. This defense is going to be a problem for teams. The only reason why I don't have them higher than the Sea Dragons is going to be because the team defense is always going to be more advanced than team offense in week 1. We talked about this with the Brahmas and the Renegades and the Vipers and stuff like that. And I just don't trust the Jordan Ta'amu and the Derek King quarterback duo. I thought they'd be a better offense week 1 than they actually were. I mean, when they could find the role for Derek King or just transition to him as the permanent quarterback, because Ta'amu was kind of rough, I think that they'd be better. So hopefully once you get to like playoff time, that defense can carry you until you find that offensive identity or like that rhythm. I'm just not overly impressed with how well the skill positions and the quarterbacks in general played. Really disappointed with how Abram Smith played. So the offense as a whole was a disappointment, but that defense really surprised me a lot. And that's the reason why I have them lower than our number 2 team, the Seattle Sea Dragons, because I think the Sea Dragons offense really impressed me, and the defense hung in there and really made it tough for the Defenders' offense. The only reason why they lost this game is because, like similar to the Vipers, correctable mistakes, issues with turnovers and stuff like that. Pick 6, pretty identical to how the Vipers lost, honestly. And it's probably against a much better defense in the Defenders as opposed to the Renegades defense. Danucci really impressed me, and I personally think the Sea Dragons have the best 1-2 combo of wide receivers when it comes to Gordon, and then the super fast kid from Mississippi, Ole Miss. I'm forgetting his name right now. I talked about him in the podcast. Relatively new name to me. I have to do some more research on him. But they really showed out. They had a bunch of yards, and if they were able to build on this early success they had in that game, I think they would have won. But against a good defense in the defenders early on the season, I'm not surprised they lost eventually. I think they're going to be able to build on that, grow with that, watch the tape, and I think next week they'll be even better offense. Probably maybe even the number one offense, as long as this team doesn't keep running away with it, which is, of course, my team. I'm always correct with the XFL at least. That's why this Power Rankings week 1 is going to hold up, or week 2. With the Houston Roughnecks being number 1, of course they are. I told everybody I was picking this as my team in the preview episode I did for this. And yeah, I really like a lot of the players. Max Borghi, especially, I ranted about him. He was one of my favorite sleeper running backs in last year's draft class because I thought he could be like that diet Christian McCaffrey. And well, shockingly enough, he became the diet Christian McCaffrey on Sunday night or Saturday night. It was really not even a competition when it came to the Roughnecks versus the Guardians. And I really think that the second half was them trying out different things and just experimenting with what they could do as an offense, which was already pretty well off in the first half. So if they go back to playing with those fundamentals, I doubt they're going to make as many mistakes as they did. Brandon Silvers, I thought was a confusing choice for quarterback, but now I see, yeah, after what he saw there, they must have saw something in practice that really put him over the top of Elby or McDonald. And having Cole McDonald be that Taysom Hill running back, I'm really excited to see that come out with Max Borghi and just how well this team performed all around. They had a dude who had 4 sacks in one game, so controlling the line of scrimmage, which is really important in these leagues. Getting the line of scrimmage done right is really going to be if you have the offensive line set, you're probably going to win a lot of games. And I think the Roughnecks have a decent offensive line. Their pass rush is good to take advantage of the weaker offensive lines, and I think they have a good stable of talent on offense and on defense to really blow guys out. So that's my power rankings heading into week 2 for the XFL. Tell me where you agree or disagree. I have a couple of ones that are going to be controversial off the bat. And next week I'll be back on Wednesday talking about where these movers were following the 4 games that we're going to see this weekend and this Thursday. So other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one.